My palms are icy cold to the touch. And in my head, I'm wondering if the people in the back row can see my heart pounding through my shirt. It's August 2016, and I'm standing on this sacred red dot. It was what I thought would be the best day of my life. I'm like one of those action heroes in this moment, where everything's happening in slow motion, but instead of dodging bullets and punches, I'm acutely aware of everything that's happening in the theater. In the fourth row, there's a celebrity who's laughing at something that I said that I did not realize was funny until I said it. In the front row, my mother is crying what I hope are happy tears. She's sitting next to my girlfriend of nearly 4 years, and all my friends and family are in the front row. They've got the best seats in the house for that day. In my first talk, I shared about how I learned how to treat failure in my life, particularly with my lifelong struggle with obesity. Now, I know this is probably hard to believe, but 8 years ago, I weighed nearly 450 pounds. Thank you. Yeah, you can clap, that's fine. And in that moment, when I was on stage acutely aware of everything that's happening, I looked up at the back of the room, and there's a timer there that says I have just under 6 minutes remaining. And I know exactly how many sentences I have left in my talk. And I realize I'm going to finish this thing with exactly 1 second to spare, say thank you, and run off the stage. Standing ovation notwithstanding, that's exactly what I did. And I fell into Kimberly's arm, who instructed me, go back out there and enjoy your moment. I'm not sure if the audience was reflecting the sheer relief and joy in my face that it was over, but I instinctively put my hands over my heart and embraced and welcomed that love from them. Since giving my talk 2 years ago, I have heard from people around the world who were inspired by my story that started with a series of tennis balls where I wrote down small habits that I would implement each week. In that talk, I shared my trademark line, which was that I had lost 1 pound 225 times. I've received messages from around the world, from people in Africa who'd lost 1 pound 100 times, from people in New Zealand who had lost 1 pound 50 times, from people in LA who'd lost 1 pound 3 times. God bless them. I've had the opportunity to be back on television, multiple interviews. I was featured in Randy Zuckerberg's latest New York Times best-selling book. All of these opportunities became available to me because I stood on this beautiful red dot with icy cold hands and a heart pounding out of my chest. But my first talk was about failure, so it feels kind of unfitting that I should talk about success in this talk. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share something that happened to me and how my talk saved someone's life. A few months passed, and I was back on television again. The producers came out to film my new life as a successful public speaker with my girlfriend and my children, playing at the park, showing our perfect little life. They filmed us all weekend long, and at the end of the weekend, my producer came to me and gave me a big hug, and she said, "I'm so proud of you and your perfect little life." Famous last words, right? I get home that night and settle in to watch the hockey game, and my girlfriend walks in and says, "Can we talk?" Now, there are certain words we might hear in our lives that always mean the same thing. Some of them are universally good. Dinner's ready. He shoots, he scores. These are the moments we look forward to. Now, if you've never heard "Can we talk?" that's not one of those sentences. Going through a breakup on national television was what I thought would be my rock bottom. Now, I don't know if you've ever had your life come slamming down on rock bottom, only to have the floor fall out from underneath you, and you realize you're looking up at rock bottom's backside. For me, yeah, thank you. For me, rock bottom's backside was waking up on a Sunday morning to see my ex's car parked in my neighbor's driveway. Thank you. Yeah, I was there. It's starting to realize why walking the dog was taking 2 hours. It's putting 2 and 2 together and realizing that maybe 2 were never together at all. Now, as a motivational speaker and someone who tries to be funny, you might think that I would be immune to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. But the truth is that at this moment in my life, I spiraled into a deep depression, the likes of which I've never experienced. I lost sleep, I stopped eating, my exercise became irregular, I lost everything in my world except for my friends. And on a Thursday night, I got a wonderful text message from a good friend trying to cheer me up again. He asked me, "Hey, you like TED Talks, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, what do you want? Why?" And he linked me to a talk. He even used a URL shortener so that I wouldn't know which talk I would be clicking onto. Maybe you have a friend like this. I clicked the link, and I was face to face with the worst looking TED Talk that year. It was me. And I was face to face with myself, sharing a message about how to recover from failure. And in that moment, that was exactly what I needed. My talk saved my life. In my talk, I shared how I would take 1 habit a week to spiral my ability to lose weight. My first week, I said, I'm not going to eat any sugar. And my second week, no white flour. The third week, no processed foods. That meant no Doritos. Doritos, for me, my mother will tell you, was actually my first word as a baby. 3 syllables, impressive, right? I did the same thing in this moment in my life. To overcome this failure, I started with a habit a week, first starting with therapy. The first week I went into therapy, I actually asked my therapist if she had a punch card system because I knew I would be going a lot. Turns out they haven't adopted those things yet. But she said it was a good idea. The second week, I moved on to meditation. The third week, I adopted a self-care routine where I would go and do sensory deprivation, float in a tank, and get away from my thoughts. Week by week, similar to the way that I lost weight, I found a way to spiral myself upward out of that pattern. I knew exactly what I needed from the world because my therapist shared with me a crucial thought. She said that gratitude and depression could not exist in the same heart at the same time. And I realized more than anything else in my life, I needed regeneration. I needed to feel gratitude for what the universe had given me, the least of which wasn't the blessing of being on this red dot. I looked for grace, and grace is the unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration. That's exactly what I needed. I needed grace in my life. And maybe I was obsessed with this principle because Amazing Grace is on heavy rotation in my shower song playlist. But for whatever the reason is, I knew exactly what I wanted at this moment. And my therapist challenged me to get back out there. As my final tennis ball, my final challenge, she told me to go on a date. And so I downloaded an online dating app and I ventured into the toxic world that online dating has become. It was the greatest thing I ever did for any comedy routine I ever wanted to put together. But this time was a little bit different. Dating today, I knew exactly what I was looking for, and I knew exactly what I deserved. I was looking for grace. And so when her perfect face appeared in my app with nothing but a Kurt Vonnegut quote and a gorgeous pair of eyes, I knew that I'd found what I was looking for. My talk saved my life in a moment when I needed it most. I'm so grateful to have heard from hundreds and hundreds of other people who have listened and felt inspired to change their lives. I've never gotten rich off of weight loss. To be fair, I'm the kind of person to tell you you should eat more vegetables and less fatty food, and that doesn't sell very well on the open market. Most people are looking for shakes and pills, and they don't want to hear that it's mental and that they need to go see a therapist and they need to talk about their problems. The only pay I've really gotten out of talking about weight loss and blogging about it for years are those emails and that feedback from people who have been inspired to take charge of their lives. But of all the stories I will ever tell from this red circle, this one is the most important because it ends with the greatest of all endings, as all stories do. And they lived happily ever after. Thank you.